What is going on, everyone? I hope your life is going good, no matter how you want to live it. Hope it's doing good. Did you know 36.6% of the US population rents their living space? According to the US Census Bureau, people rent houses, apartments, mobile homes, and boats. They don't count living in a van down by the river, in case you're gonna ask. Growing up, the American dream for most of us was to own some land, buy a house, or at least a condo, something, buy something, own it, to live in. More and more people are starting to think that homeownership isn't all it's cracked up to be. It was probably about the time the country started coming out of the recession around 2013, they noticed a shift in the desire of young adults to own a home. More and more were willing to rent. They didn't want the headache of owning a home and the risk and all that other stuff. In some ways, it made sense. If you have a mortgage, the bank really owns your house anyway. Sure, you're building equity, but still, the bank owns the house. You're almost paying rent to them, it seems like. If the roof leaks when you're renting, that's somebody else's problem. Water heater goes out, call your landlord, not the credit card company, to see if you can afford a new water heater. The list of benefits of renting goes on and on and on. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's no benefits to owning a house, it's just a lot of people are looking at it differently these days. If that's how you want to live, that's great. But in some places, renting sucks. And most of the time, it boils down to cost versus income, like in Number 10, Georgia. At number 10, we have the Peach State, Georgia. Georgia, like many other southern states, is a little light in the average income category. This list, we will be comparing the average income versus the average rent and how many hours the average person has to work each month to pay that rent. In Georgia, those numbers suck. They have some good paying industries, but they have more that don't pay that well. The military is one of them. Georgia has 9 military installations, counting the Coast Guard. If you've been in the military or know someone who has been in the military, you know it's not a good place to get rich. The median yearly income in the Peach State is about $39,950, and the average rent is about $1,250 a month for one bedroom. That means 73.8 hours goes into putting a roof over your head and all your stuff. Number 9, Illinois. Renting in Illinois is a nightmare. Being a landlord is a different story. One of the first issues as a renter that there's no law limiting rent increases for month-to-month contracts. A lot of states have laws controlling that. So technically, in Illinois, if you're paying $1,100 in January, the landlord can bump you up to $1,500 in February with little or no notice. Let's say you end up in jail or the hospital for a couple months, like you were dating my cousin's ex-wife or whatever. You end up in jail or in the hospital. You could be considered to have abandoned your rental. Most states require the landlord to store your stuff anywhere from 90 days to 2 years. In Illinois, the law on abandoned tenant property only covers crops. So your corn is safe, your computer is not. Now, this is according to the Illinois General Assembly. The average income in Illinois is $39,950 a year. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment is $1,457 on average. Like I said before, cities play a big part of it. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, that's not gonna affect you really. The average income in Illinois is $39,950 a year. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment is $1,457. That means, on average, 75.8 hours a month goes to your landlord to keep that crappy apartment that could be, have the rent raised at any time. Number 8, Virginia. One theory of the Roanoke colony that people rarely talk about is they left the colony because of high rent and aggressive landlords. Now, I think one of the main reasons nobody talks about it is because it happened sometime around 1590, and I just made the part up about the high rent and the aggressive landlords. But seeing that we have no idea where these people went back in 1590, that could have been exactly what happened. We don't know. We'll never know. You don't know that it wasn't aggressive landlords. Anyway, that is one of this country's greatest mysteries, the lost colony of Roanoke. Look it up. It's really, really interesting. These days, a lot of people I'm sure wouldn't mind leaving Virginia unannounced. That's because of rent prices and rental laws. If you fix something in a rental unit like a leaky sink or let's say a broken window lock, you cannot subtract that from your rent and your landlord doesn't have to pay you back. Just be aware of that. Now that's according to the Virginia Law Library. The average yearly income in Virginia is about $40,820. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is about $1,510. That means 76.9 of your working hours go to your landlord. Number 7, New Jersey. Things aren't bad in the Garden State as far as tenant rights. They don't have many strange laws, affecting tenants. They do have one that is a little strange. No law against raising the month-to-month rent every single month, meaning you could be paying $1,200 in January, and by next January, your rent can be $2,400 a month if your landlord woke up, got a wild hair up his butt, and decided his New Year's resolution would be to jack you for an extra $100 every single month of the year. What really gets New Jersey on this list is how many hours you have to work every single month for your one-bedroom apartment. The average annual income in New Jersey is $43,400. The average rent in New Jersey is $1,680 a month. That means you're working 80 hours a month to pay rent. 2 weeks of the standard 40-hour full-time job goes to having a place for you and your pet chinchilla to lay your heads. Doesn't make sense. Number 6, Washington. Like New Jersey, Washington isn't terrible with laws and tenants' rights. They're actually pretty reasonable and fair. Anyway, they don't have anything dictating how much can be charged for a deposit like most states have some kind of restrictions, 1 or 2 months, something like that. The cost is a big factor in Washington, and I'll repeat this for anyone that's itching to leave a comment. All states normally have 2 or 3 cities that jack these stats up. I'm sure if you move to concrete Washington, you can find a one-bedroom apartment and a girlfriend named Carmen for half of what the state average is. The median annual income in Washington is $46,100. A one-bedroom apartment on average is $1,783. That means you're putting in 80.4 hours a month just to put a roof over your head so you can watch the morning news and your favorite traffic chick or something like that. Number 5, Hawaii. Hawaii is a paradise to a lot of people. Mostly, those people would be native Hawaiians, tourists, and landlords. The reason it's a landlord paradise is because they charge crazy amounts for rent and people are crazy enough to pay for it. Obviously, living on an island is going to be expensive. I mean, everything except for spam. As far as states ranked by the best laws and regulations for renters and landlords, Hawaii is ranked number 2. That is just the rules landlords and renters have to follow. One thing landlords don't follow is the amount of normalcy when it comes to how much they stick it to you in rent. The average annual income is $42,450. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Hawaii is $1,780, meaning that you have to work 84.2 hours a month to pay for rent. Now, one thing I will tell you about Hawaii, those numbers seem really low. There's a lot of places in Hawaii that are extremely expensive, like way to the crazy end of things. The averages make it sound kind of like it's okay. It's really bad. Number 4, Florida. Next, we have the Sunshine State. It should be no surprise a place with a bunch of beaches and a lot of sunshine has really high rent prices. Florida has 4 cities that have more renters than homeowners, and in a few cases, far more. Orlando has 71% renters. Tallahassee has 67%. The national average is about 36.6%. These are all 2018 numbers, obviously. You get too far inland in Florida, and you start losing your taste for being a homeowner entirely. Most people don't realize how backwoods Florida gets outside of the major cities. That's where a lot of people are homeowners. You really don't want to rent out there. You have a lot of guys in trucks missing too many teeth and too many showers in most cases. You find them all around places where they got the cheap rent. The median income in Florida is $34,560. A one-bedroom apartment goes for, on average, $1,404, meaning you got to work 84.5 hours every month for the privilege of not living in your car or in a park. When you look at those numbers, living in your car and having that girl from the Progressive commercials being your closest thing to a landlord, well, starts to not look that bad, does it? Number 3, Massachusetts. If you know someone that lives in the Boston metro area, you saw this one coming. I have a friend who's lived in the Boston metro area his entire life. This guy is the stereotypical Bostonian, and he's given up. He said it's too expensive to rent in Boston, and he's out. He can't take it anymore. He said he's gonna do the unthinkable and move to Vermont and buy a home. Actually, you should probably rent in Vermont. Vermont's one of the best places to rent in the nation. The entire state of Massachusetts, it's very expensive to rent. And then it's got a couple weird things about deposit on how much it can be and how long it takes to get back to you after you've been thrown out or leave voluntarily from a place. On average, people make about $48,680 a year in Massachusetts, and they pay $2,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. And you gotta work 85.5 hours a month just to get that apartment. That's no yard either. That's just a one-bedroom apartment. Number 2, California. Hey look, it's California towards the top of a list of things that are too expensive. Imagine that. I bet no one saw that one coming. Actually, if you had Florida, Massachusetts, and California on your overpriced rent bingo cards, come on up, you're a winner. If you've been watching my videos, you know I have talked about the suckage of California to death. I just did 3 videos on why the place sucks. Housing costs are always at the top of any kind of negative list about California, and really, any list about crappy things about California. Now, this is where we get some clown that needs to leave a comment about how it's only expensive if you ain't got no money and don't have a good job. I just want to say something to that person. Stop typing, you live with your parents and you're 28. The average annual income in California is $42,430. The average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in California is $2,122. So 2018, it's probably closer to $3,000 this year. Anyway, that means you got to work 99 hours a month just to put a roof over your head. That's crazy. And number 1, New York. I just surprised nobody with that. If you watch TV, listen to the radio, have ever been on the internet, know how to read sign language, hell, if you know how to read tea leaves or smoke signals, you know New York is grossly overpriced. New York and California are in some sort of twisted competition of trying to price all the residents out of the state. They are so good at it, there's no way that it's happening by accident. New York is the best example of a major city bringing the rest of the state down. New York City is so bad, it's not even funny anymore. The average annual income in New York State is $44,990. The average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment, $2,499. That's the average. That's how grossly overpriced New York City is, that it's making that the average. That should be the absolute worst. But no, that's just weird. Anyway, you have to work almost 103 hours a month just to put a roof over your head in New York. That's just bad. Alright, so that is the worst states to be a renter in. Hope you guys got some information. If you're thinking about moving to one of these states, really look at the rental prices before you go. Some of them are really bad. Anyway, don't forget all the links below. Subscribe if you haven't. Be a member, buy a t-shirt, all that good stuff. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.